So we ticked the forecast in this race last year.
Only the OGs will know. Hello and welcome along to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by BetMGM. I'm back again, but thank you so much to the lads for holding the fort in my absence. And again, a great show then by all. So we have Dave and Andrew back though to guide you through the races at Ayr and Newbury. We had limited races last week with only the 6. We've further bolstered that with 9 then this week, and some of the most impossible handicaps of the entire season as well. So happy to put this all on to Dave and Andrew. But though last week, in terms of the winners, unfortunately, that wasn't landed in the 6 races, but loads of nice prices then for the places. Crystal Clare, she took the 205 at Chester, both Matty and Andrew then at 20 to 1. Took second, I should say, in that race. In the Portland, landed extra places. Bergerac at 20 to 1 for Andrew. Rumsar for Matty at 17 to 2. Tashcan was third for Matty in the Watergate Cup. And obviously, great to see Kinross getting his head back in front again in the Park Stakes. He was given a really good mention. Then also to Should Have Been a Ring, who was third at 14 to 1. And also, David sent me the little note here to read out, saying that a big thank you to each and every one of you, because we have had record interactions then, a new high of 192 likes. So, and Dave says himself, I'm sure each and every one of those was in request of having Kate back in the hot seat. Dave's words, not mine. Definitely not true either. But thank you so much to all of you who did like and interact then with us. Also, Andrew had Bay City Roller then, because his main selection was withdrawn, Chancellor at the start. So the second choice then went in at Donny. So very well done, lads, for all of those. Hopefully more this week, because loads of places on offer with our big handicaps. Now we're going to start with one of those races up at Ayr, the 115 0 to 100 handicap, 3-year odds and over a mile. BetMGM each way plus race, 4 places on offer, 9 to 2 the field. Mursky heading the way, Dave. So extra places for you.
Yeah, thanks for coming to me first as well. I will just say there's a horse running later that everyone knows that I'm going to tip up before we even get to it. But you weren't here last week and Kinross won, so I'm disappointed that you're back this week, because it does mean that old Summerghand's probably going to get beat again. But we've got plenty of races to get stuck into before then. The opening race at Ayr, decent looking handicap. You mentioned Mursky heading the market there, was second in that Clipper handicap, wasn't he, where Thunder Run went and won the race. Now, it's a horse that ran behind Thunder Run, but not in that race that I'm interested in here, and it's Austrian Theory at quite a reasonable price, 14 to 1 at the time of recording. Dropped a few pounds, I think, for its last one, down to, I've got to double check, I think it's 82 now. So it is like a career low mark, but has just sort of been on the decline for a little while anyway now. That run when he ran behind Le Trinidad, that's the one I'm talking about. Thunder Run was in the race. Thunder Run was sent off as a 4 to 6 odds-on favourite in that handicap. But Austrian Theory tried to switch to go outside to get a clear run to make ground like at the end of the race. Couldn't get there, so had to go to the inside rail. And then he sort of followed the favourite Thunder Run at 4 to 6 that you'd think would be the one to be behind. But he was never going to win, so they just stopped riding him. And Austrian Theory was caught a little bit short in there. So the run at obviously York in that Clipper was just not really very good. He was off the back of the pace there, never really got into it. So I'm happy to put a bit of a line through that. I think this looks like one of the easiest assignments he's been in for a little while. I think it's generous that they've dropped the £3 in there for him. So it's not a race I've got into in a great amount of depth, but Austrian Theory was on my list of a horse to back basically when he gets dropped in the weights. That's happened this time. So Austrian Theory at 14 to 1 for me.
Nice. And again, like I say, a good price then for Austrian Theory for Dave. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm coming at it from the same sort of angle as Dave, looking for a horse who ran well from a poor track position at York last time out. I mean, if you bet every horse who ran at the Eborn meeting from stall 6 or higher, next time out, you'd find 18 winners from 122 bets, made a small profit of £5. There's been loads of good runs and defeat as well. And the one I was interested in was Aragon Castle for Andrew Balding. Looks well drawn in stall 3 here. Was poorly drawn, double-digit draw at York, ran a blinder to finish 6th of 18 behind Thunder Run after being switched widest of all. Loads of winners and good runs in defeat have come out of that race. And the only time he's gone north of the border before, he was a winner at Hamilton back in early July. Should also give an honourable mention to Revich, whose 3 runs over course and distance have all come in this race. He won it in 2021. He was 3rd, beaten half a length 12 months later. And last year he returned to win it. So despite form figures this year, of duck egg, duck egg, duck egg, duck egg, duck egg. He's a single figure price, and he could well end up shorter than his current odds of around about 8-1 or 9-1. So yeah, Revic should go well also, but I think there's enough pace here to set it up for a close, and hopefully that's Aragon Castle.
Aragon Castle around 7s. Revic is about 8s with 5 duck eggs to his name from this year, but this is definitely his race. Now we're going to switch to Newbury for the 130. This is for the Group 3 World Trophy Stakes for the 3-year-olds and over 5 furlongs. Anaf currently heading the way at about 3-1. But I guess, Andrew, whose turn is it to take a 5 furlong group race?
Well, last year, this was Thunderbird Nymphadora Day. So yeah, happy Thunderbird Nymphadora anniversary.
Happy cocktails, everybody.
It was on, long-suffering listeners will remember that we took the forecast in this race last year, the Nymphadora Thunderbears, and said we should name a cocktail after it if they finished 1-2.
Only the OGs will know.
Yeah, it went the wrong way around. It was the Thunderbird Nymphadoras. With very different ground this time around. I think at the time of recording, which is Thursday afternoon, they're calling it good to soft, good in places. After originally saying there could be thunderstorms at Newbury on Saturday morning, it's been downgraded now. And the latest weather forecast I looked at suggests there might not be any significant rain until 4 o'clock or even later on Saturday. So it could well dry out because you've got a couple of quite warm days. So do keep an eye on underfoot conditions. Because when I first looked at the decks for this on Monday afternoon, I thought A Day in Devon is been a fantastic horse for the Millman Yard this year, would have the soft ground that she enjoys, but I'm not so sure now. So I've gone off her chances. There were 2 that interested me here. One of them is 7 questions in the first round blinkers for George Scott. The last time he had the minimum trip and Group 3 company, he won the Palace House Stakes at Newbury. The last time I did take a chance and have a few quid on him for the Stewards Cup, despite the worry about the 6 furlong trip, but his saddle slipped. Turned out it was poorly drawn anyway. And we've seen a host of horses who were drawn low to middle in the Stewards Cup come out and win or run well in defeat since. So around about 20-1 from stall 2. I thought 7 questions had a squeak. And the other interesting one is Desperate Hero, who has been campaigned in desperate fashion since beating American Affair by 4.5 lengths in a 15-runner handicap at Hamilton on the 2nd of June. Now you look at the difference between the 2 of them, and Jack Shannon's charge went up £13 for that run. Since then, he's run at Sandown in Group 3, did too much too soon, looked likely to win and got collared in the last 100 yards or so. Went to Goodwood in Group 2 company, finished last at 10. And then last time out ran much better, the Flying Five at the Curragh last weekend, finishing 6th of 18 at 66-1. Now he's picked up like 26 grand or something for those 3 runs, whereas American Affair has picked up 126,000 quid in his 5 subsequent runs, 2 wins, a couple of seconds and a third. He's current favourite for the Ayr Gold Cup. More of him later. So I don't think Desperate Hero has been campaigned particularly well by Jack Shannon since that impressive Hamilton win, but there are more wins in him, and now dropping back from sort of Group 1, Group 2 company down to a Group 3, I thought he could go well. But I'll split stakes between the 2, 7 questions and Desperate Hero.
Both nice prices as well. Desperate Hero around 14, 7 questions around 20 though. So nice prices for Andrew in that Group 3. Dave, who'd you like?
Yeah, I mean, I did like 7 questions a bit as well. He's going to be one of the few that I'm going to just perm up and do a combination Tricast, because 3 of the last 4 winners of this race were 3-year-olds. And Andrew's also mentioned A Day in Devon that, like, I know we don't definitely know what's going to happen with the weather about, but A Day in Devon definitely needs to be on the shortlist. That 7 questions Palace House Stakes that Andrew was talking about, where he won the Group 3, was first time cheat piece. This time it's first time blinkers for the horse. So that's potentially looking like a positive angle if you want to ignore the last couple of runs and try and excuse those. 20-1 just looks massive. But like I said, I think I'm going to perm up a bit. Relief Rally, we've talked about multiple times with the fact that left the Minear and Suede operation probably doesn't look like a positive necessary move. But I will cast our minds back to when this horse ran at Newbury last time behind Elite Status. That was a course record that day, and that was just nothing but pace off the front. It could not have been set up more perfectly for Elite Status that day. But the problem is that was over 6 furlongs. This is 5 furlongs. I know Relief Rally's got good form as a younger horse at the distance, but I don't know. I just think I'd rather have that race at Newbury back again, and Tom Marquand probably wouldn't have been so patient. So I think Relief Rally with more positive tactics could be close, but does need to improve on everything she's done so far. A Day in Devon's got form in the book. No Half Measures was an interesting one, not only because it goes well with our cocktail theme, but it's got some good RPRs in there as well. And I think the run last time and the quick turnaround on this horse makes me feel a little bit like it was the race that got away from last time. Was 6th of 15, but beaten 3/4 of a length in a Group 3 Longchamp last weekend, I think it was. They've got Ryan Moore booked up for this one. Obviously, he's there riding a few horses, but on paper, this horse doesn't need to step forward as much as the market might suggest at 7-1. And like I say, the fact that they've turned him around so quickly, turned her around so quickly, makes me think that they're sort of left something behind last time. So it's not a single selection. It looks a really competitive race. I'm going to do a combination Tricast on some of the 3-year-olds. Relief Rally, A Day in Devon, No Half Measures, and 7 questions. One of those 3, like the combination perms in there, is going to come in. I'll get the first 3 out of them, I'm sure.
Nice, chucking all the 3-year-olds then into the mix in those combis. But yeah, No Half Measures. It's written in the stars now, isn't it, though, for this race anyway, that she should go and keep the cocktail theme rolling. Right, the 150 now at Ayr. This is the listed Doonside Cup set. You can't
You've got to
it
say
like
it, the
that,
Gordon Brune accent there, haven't you?
I know, you can't not say it. It's just like, oh, it's like, well, we'll get to it anyway. You know where I'm going then with the Firth of Clyde later on. But yeah, the Doonside Cup Stakes listed race for the 3-year-olds and over 10 furlongs. Phantom Flight, he's a hot enough prospect for this, but yeah, it looks a competitive contest, so all the same, Dave.
Yeah, it really does. And it's like similar to the race before where you've said who's going to take their turn winning that 5-furlong group race. This feels a little bit like it in here, that I feel like if anyone could get the 2 winners of those 2 races, the 130 at Newbury and 150 at Ayr, they deserve some sort of knighthood, because it looks a really hard one to get like a strong handle on. Phantom Flight definitely deserves to be favourite, I think. He confirmed that he was probably just better than Enfjaar last time out, but it was on good to firm ground. I think if there was rain, which there is, doesn't look like there is any up there, it's going to dry out a little bit. I feel like if Enfjaar was ever going to beat Phantom Flight, he would need it to be bad ground. That isn't going to happen, so he deserves to be up the front. I did kind of like Persica last time, didn't I, when he didn't run as well, but he kind of showed his level, that was a Group 3. Dropping back to a listed race maybe will help, but possibly wants the rain to come, which isn't going to happen. Then there's Caviar Heights. I think it's like in calmer waters now. If you look at the fact that he's run behind the likes of like Kalpana, who was a really good winner a few weeks back. Economics, JRB in there as well. But I'm talking about these horses like he was anywhere close to him. He was battered by every single one of them. So in summary, you could make a case for most of the horses in here. Sons and Lovers had a couple of good placed runs, hasn't he? But I just couldn't really hammer down on anything. I think that Phantom Flight possibly could just be the one that we may be overthinking the race about. I think what he did to Enfjaar last time just proves he's good. When he beat Al-Azi at the start of the season, when it probably wasn't off for Al-Azi, that was in a first-time herd. He looked like a horse that might keep progressing. This is the easiest race he's running since then. So I think he probably is just a good favourite. I think 11-4 about him is quite fair. So I'll stick with Phantom Flight.
Back in listed company, which saw that success at Newbury then, of course, at the start of this season for Phantom Flight. For Dave, Andrew.
Yeah, I thought it was between Phantom Flight and Enfjaar. Having put up Phantom Flight win only at York, I was gutted I didn't make him an each way bet. And I was very disappointed with the ride he was given, because I thought surely he's going to make the running and get across to the inside rail, which is clearly the fastest part of the track. But he fannied about in no man's land in the middle of the course, and wasn't given an aggressive ride, sort of was willing to take a lead. Looked like he was going to win anyway, and then of course the winners, who was poorly drawn in stall late, it's been switched to the inside and come up the Golden Highway on the inside rail. Now Enfjaar, of course, ran in the same race, but he had terrible track position that day. He was switched widest of all, so I thought it would be closer between the pair. So I'm just going to go Enfjaar because he's a bigger price, but I will be doing the reverse forecast Phantom Flight and Enfjaar. Wanted to be against Busker despite that win at York last time. I thought he was flattered by track position that day. He was on the far side where the ground was quicker, and of course that was a handicap. And in the last since 2012, I think that's 11 renewals. Horses who ran in handicap company last time out are just 1 from 34 in this race. That was Royal Rhyme last year, who went up about £15 for his handicap win, won this, and then was shoved up to a mark of 116 later on. It's just a complete machine on soft ground. So yeah, take on Sabuska, certainly. You know, those who are looking for sort of a place lay might want to take him on. But yeah, Enfjaar, Phantom Flight, win on Enfjaar, reverse forecast on the pair.
Okay, so taking on Sabuska then in terms of the place lay, but yeah, between Phantom Flight and Enfjaar from that run a month ago. Now we're going to switch to the 205 at Newbury. This is the Autumn Cup handicap, a 0 to 105 contest, 3-year-olds and over a mile 5, and another each way plus race with Bet MGM, and this one with 4 places on offer, 4 to 1 the field. Andrew, there you go.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed with this race because for months I thought Waxing Gibbous, the 702 favourite, was Waxing Gibbons. I thought that was something you could do at the zoo, like swimming with
You don't want to
dolphins
do
or
that,
feeding the penguins. I thought that was a primate parlour where you could wax the gibbons on your birthday if you paid an extra 20 quid. But
sign me up. You may lose your eyeballs, but sign me up.
So very disappointing. Now, Liber Power is obviously of interest. The second favourite ran about 11 to 2 because of, yet again, we go a recurring theme here. Horses who ran well from a bad draw at York. Came out still 13 that day, switched wide under Ocean Murphy. That was a fantastic effort to finish second to Shadow Dance. Shadow Dance had the run of the race, was always on the better part of the track, so don't read too much into his defeat next time. He was just flattered at York. Youthful King, I will be backing and putting up as my selection. Youthful King's frustrating all the time, though, because he's by the sire Fountain of Youth, who do extremely well on turf compared to the all-weather. He surprised me third time out by winning on the sand at Lingfield. That was during the month of September, and he did so again last time out. Came from off the pace to score at Lingfield on the poly track, taking his record in September to 2 wins from 3 starts. He gets a good pace here. He could go well. His wins tend to be clustered. His first, I think, he's followed up a win before, and then last year it was like first, third, and first in fairly quick succession. So Youthful King, now he's got his head back in front again, could go well here. The others of interest, Orcam, who finished lane in the Chester Cup. I did mention him before last week's intended run, but he was pulled out because he scoped wrong. And I must mention Knightswood because he's going to be widely tipped again, but my goodness, you don't want to be back in Charlie Johnson horses in Class 2 handicaps on turf this year, 2 wins from 95. And this one's only ever won in fields of 8 or fewer runners. So those with deep pockets and short memories, like the Summerghand fans, will be will be wading into Knightswood probably each way at around about 8 to 1 or something like that come Saturday. But for God's sake, don't do it. So yeah, Youthful King for me, but I will be saving on Liber Power after that good York run from a bad draw.
Bit of a saver on Liber Power. Youthful King though, 18 to 1 with Bet MGM, so that will do nicely. And Dave, just enough of a little jab there. So please be with Knightswood now for the crack, please.
No, he was a little bit more encouraging last time, but he is just that, and he's just, you know what he is. Dropping back into him will probably help him a bit. 14's, like Andrew said, you can see that people will support him, and possibly rightly so. I'm just really sad in this race because I had it all sorted out. Calling in the Wind, had Ryan Moore jocked up. Calling in the Wind made a comeback at, I think it was Ascot or Goodwood in his 400-day break, when he was going to absolutely bolt up in here, but he didn't get declared. So I've spat my dummy out. I don't want to do this race. I do just want to after time though, because we tipped up Not So Sleepy to win this last year when he was 11. He's now 12. He's had a bit of flat running, hasn't he? So
that was when we were good, wasn't it? You know, Nymphador Thunderbird Day. Yeah.
It was a good day, but yeah, I've got it. Like I said, I've gone off the race. Calling in the Wind. I just want to mention the horse's name because if you haven't got him in your trackers or noted down, I hope the horse is fine because I expected this to be a target for him. But next time he runs, he's going to hack up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was it. Sorry, that was a very abrupt finish then. Next time, though, Call of the Wind going to hack up then. So make sure you note that down right then. That was Newbury. Now we're going to head back to Ayr. We've got a 20-minute gap now before the 2:25, so it might just give them long enough time to load all the runners for the Ayr Silver Cup handicap, 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs. So again, the precursor to the main event, the Gold Cup, which comes later on. So we're going to do a lot of learning then about the potential main event from the Silver Cup, Dave. So we've currently got 5 to 1 the field in this one, wide open, extra place race, of course, with BetMGM with 6 places on offer. So loads for you to go at.
Yeah, loads to go at. I don't know if it will give us as much of a hint as you might think towards the later race, because we'll talk about that later. But the Gold Cup, basically everything wants to be drawn into stall 8 or higher, or preferably 12 or higher. Whereas in this particular race, loads of horses have won it from single figures in the last 10. So I'm not worried about watching this to make my decision for the Ayr Gold Cup. That's already made up. And this race is pretty much already made up, isn't it? Because Summerghand's running in here, and he's so lowly in the weights now, he can't get in the Gold Cup proper that he won a couple of years ago. So like, I'd be stupid to not follow him up even more. I mean, I'm probably stupid to follow him again. He ran really well at the Curragh as well, didn't he? I just think he needs probably a little bit further, but at least now he's dropping down into like a secondary division. So although it's still a Class 2 race, he's not necessarily going up against the best of the boys because they're in the other race. So I have to put him in, and I'll be using this Silver Cup as like a launch pad to do some nice little each way doubles to hopefully kick some profit going into the Gold Cup proper, even if it's just place profit. But Summerghand's going in, and then the other one I want to do is basically baby Summerghand. It's Brooklyn 99. This horse is probably even more of not a rogue, but just the like precision you have to deliver this horse on the line. I think he's only ever won once, won by a head. Every other time the horse runs, it just seems to get boxed in. But I think it's interesting with Brooklyn 99 because at the start of the season, ran over 6 furlongs. You go back and watch the race, it was behind Tinto, and you do need to go back and watch this to believe me. 130 favourite was sent off. Just got blocked, they closed in, then the gap opened, then they squished him again, then the jockey switched on the inside, stayed on, but you could see the jockey was annoyed that he'd lost the race. Then since then, they've dropped it back to 5 furlongs behind Starlust the time after. Starlust is now like a I don't know, 105, 106 horse, like a highly rated horse that was actually a little bit unlucky at York as well, but again, is the type of horse that it is. Then when they've run him at Ascot, taken a bit of a break, it was a neck second to Wolverhampton, was miles out the back, still considering it's only a 5 furlong race, almost got up. And I think the whole plan would have been from the start of the season was, let's do that, prep run at Ascot, go and win, and then hopefully get into the Gold Cup. If not, we've got the Silver Cup as a consolation. But this horse is here to win a race at the at this particular meeting. So Brooklyn 99 will probably be an unlucky loser, but will definitely be in the places. I will play the pair of those, please.
So Summerghand and baby Summerghand with Brooklyn 99, only a 4-year-old. If he starts to go that way, then as well. But I mean, to be fair, if he has the career that Summerghand has had, then I mean, connections will be over the moon. What a horse Summerghand has been, and another 6-day turnaround for him. And of course, then Dave will be siding with him in the second tier, the second division. Then for Summerghand, Andrew, don't be mean about Summerghand. What do you like?
No, I'm going to be complimentary about Dave's expression, baby Summerghand. I'm going to steal that and not credit him. I like that. But the thing about Brooklyn 99, I've written him up a few times, is what seems obvious to me is that he needs a small field. He won in a field of 8 runners on his debut. He's 0 from 9 since. And we see this time and time again. People say, well, so-and-so was unlucky, so-and-so was unlucky, and back. But he was unlucky because he needs a small field. Every time he gets crowded, he finds trouble. When there's, you know, lots of runners, he meets trouble in running. Now your hope here is they're going to split into sort of 2 or 3 distinct groups, and you'll end up racing with just a handful down the centre. And there'll also be a far side and a stand side group, but I won't be backing them at 7-1. Bergerac is the one I put up for the Portland on the strength of his fine effort at York in the Symphony Stakes from a high draw where he was 6th. I thought he did a little bit too much too soon at Doncaster last week. We just scraped an extra place with 6 if you were on each way. But there's more. He's in stall 2, which could be okay, but there's also pace over the far side from Pause for Thought in stall 1. I've not really done enough work on this race yet, but I was working towards a sort of low to middle draw potential bias with perhaps you know, a small each way play on Rock Opera for Richard Fahey. We know how well he does at Ayr, particularly in the sort of, you know, the silver, the bronze and the Gold Cup. The Bronze Cup is on Friday, so if you want some draw clues, that's probably your best bet. We used to have a 5 furlong handicap on Thursday with sort of 20 plus runners, but they've split that into 2 divisions of 9 or 10 today, so that's not particularly helpful. So with the ground drying out in his favour, Rock Opera each way, very tentative stab and a tricky race.
About 20-1 though at the moment, Rock Opera from stall 4, but a good mention for a few of those other ones. And as Dave says, that very often it actually isn't that helpful as you would have thought then looking ahead to the Gold Cup itself, because very often it can just completely switch them with these draws. But do watch all the same anyway, and make sure to catch Andrew's column for further updates on the Ayr Silver Cup. Right, back to Newbury for a 0-105 handicap, 3-year-olds and over 10 furlongs. Flying Frontier even is currently heading the way, trying to back up his success from last time out. But Andrew, these races are just getting easier and easier for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at least this one is sort of manageable in terms of the number of runners. 11 runners. We've seen bigger fields in the past, and of course, no Godolphin representation. 2 years ago, Godolphin was first, second, and third in this race, all drawn low in stalls 2, 3, and 4. That's often been an angle in this race. 8 of the last 10 winners were drawn in 5 or lower. You back all those, you made a profit of 23 quid. If you just bet the horses in stalls 1 and 2, you'd have found 4 of the 10 winners and made a profit of £25.50. So yeah, you can sort of look at it from the sort of draw angle and the pace angle as well. So yeah, last time out winners have done pretty well in this as well. Now, Canoodled I wanted to be against here, who was flattered at York, I thought, from that low draw. That race in which Canoodled won has got an incredible record. I think every single winner of it has been drawn in stalls 1, 2, or 3. This was the fillies handicap over the extended 10 furlongs. Stupidly, I had a big bet on the stall 1 runner, Reach, who ended up finishing 11th. Didn't save on Canoodle stall 2 and won at 25-1, but you live and learn. So Bolster was interesting. This is a freshened up front runner, but needs rain. Been off for 10 weeks. If it was generally good with softer or softer, I think Bolster could go well from the front under Ross Orion from stall 5. Fantasy Believer tends to blow the start, but is still 3 from 3 this year since returning from a break. And Flying Frontier stall 2. So you've got plenty of sort of horses near the head of the market, drawn low. I'd love to, if I sort of knew it was like good to soft now with rain forecast, I'd back Bolster, but I'll just be very boring, go with the favourite, Flying Frontier from stall 2.
So do watch the weather though. Bolster's currently about 14-1. Flying Frontier though at about 7-2 then for that handicap at Newbury, Dave.
Yeah, it's a nice looking race, and Andrew's done me a favour as well with a couple of points he's made there about the low draw and then last time winners having a good record, because I like Fantasy Believer in here. But before I do that, I like to moan about a couple of horses. Like I've mentioned before, when there's horses towards the front of the market that are sort of faced up against each other, and they've they're now like first and second favourite. I think they're first and third now, Flying Frontier, and quite involvement. It puts me off. It makes me feel like it's lazy pricing, and there is a bit of value further back down. And then even when you go to the next in the Bet and Quietness, that race that we covered, it was a bit of a pants race, to be fair. And as much as she won nicely, been progressive, I just think the ones towards the head of the market are just not really good enough. Whipcracker is obviously interesting with Ryan Moore up top. The first one since Gelding Tempers Enthusiasm. We already talked about Caviar Heights and the JRB race earlier on. Ambiente Friendly was in 4th in that race as well. So his mark of 99 looks like it's definitely winnable, but I don't want to back him after a first time Gelding, not even if Ryan Moore's on board. But Fantasy Believer's been flying, hasn't it? Safi Osborne 3 from 3 this season. She's got an incredible record on this horse, full stop. I think she's got 5 wins from 8 rides. And I think there's a good pattern of wins as well. That most of the wins have come between June and November. It is a career high mark 93. The few times that he's run off a 93 before, though, a couple of times were in May and once was in June. But the race that he ran in June was the Royal Hunt Cup when he was 150-1. So if he's ever going to defy the high mark, it is now. Like I said, Andrew's made a couple of positives there with the draw and last time out winners. But I do just need to caveat all of this because there's a small chance that Fantasy Believer could just blow out. But I am conscious of it. So form figures in Class 2 are 7th, 9th, 18th, 8th, 9th, 4th, 7th, and 8th. But I don't think this Class 2 looks as good as it is on potential paper to what they've run against before. In good form this time round as well now. So I'm happy to take the chance that Fantasy Believer can actually finally get like a Class 2 win. But like I said, I just want to make people aware that obviously I've made a good bit of a case, but there is reason to oppose in this class.
So I say put that caveat in, but hopefully we'll get that 4-timer up then at about 6-1. Back to air now for the 3 o'clock is the aforementioned, as promised, Thuff of Clyde Stakes for Group 3 for the 2-year-olds over 6 furlongs. 7 to the field in this one, Dave. So which of these 2-year-olds comes to the fore?
I reckon viewers, well, long-standing viewers would definitely know I'm going to put in here because I'm more than happy to stick with Moorlam, who unfortunately was a non-runner that was going to, like last time, try 6 furlongs. Can't Can't remember exactly what the reason was for it. I think it was a self-search. I didn't really confirm what it was, but I know there's lots of people.
I think the owner didn't get on and said he was stuck in traffic.
Check the traffic report. It was busy around Bicester.
It's always busy around Bicester. It's the shopping
It's
village,
always
you
busy around
fools.
Bicester. Everyone knows it's busy around Bicester.
But this is, as much as that was just a, I'd say just a Class 2 race, it was a Class 2 race at York, with it. That was probably like an easy-ish assignment. There was penalties and all that sort of stuff in there. This Group 3 filly race is well within Moorlam's grasp, and I do think the 6 furlong trip is well within her grasp as well. I know a lot of people think that she may not stay, and we know how bad she is out the stalls, just always getting fractious and having a slow start, but I think she'll just stay on. She'll be never near her regardless in this race. She's 10-1 at the time of recording. There are firms offering 4 places. Absolute freebie as far as I'm concerned for a filthy each way bet, but I suspect that she probably could win this. Now she's got another jockey on. Every single time since, well, the first 2 times she rode, it was Paddy Mathers was on twice. Ever since then, they just keep changing the jockey. I don't know whether that's because of her temperament or whether they're trying to see if they can get someone different to make her get out the stalls. But last time out when she ran at Doncaster in that Group 2, Jamie Spencer was jocked up. So I'm thinking if you want a jockey to get a horse out of the stalls, you don't want Hold Up Spencer on the horse. So I'm glad they've got rid of him. Conor Murtagh takes the ride here. I think that Moorlam potentially on a level break will absolutely hack up in here. And even without a level break, if she does her usual tactics, I think she'll stay on and pick these up. It's not as deep a race as she's running previously. Even that race at Deauville where she almost won, that was a deeper race. I appreciate that there is some potential in it. There's horses that have had very few runs that could be weapons, but from what they've done on their debuts or their couple of runs, it doesn't match up to what Moorlam has. Moorlam is 10-1 for this, as low as 8-1 in other places. I reckon she's going to be smashed up, and I reckon Moorlam's going to win.
Come on, the Summerghand Moorlam double then for Dave. We know exactly which horses he's going to be factoring in. And yeah, Moorlam's about 10-1 shot then for this Group 3 contest. Andrew.
Tricky old race. You could have bet every horse in this race in the last 10 years. That's 9 renewals and made a profit of £12.75. Winners at 25-1, 20-1, 16-1 twice, 11-1, 10-1. Etc. And most of those came from off the pace. It's not been a race for front runners. They tend to go hard, set it up for a funny one coming from off the pace. So I was half interested in Handcuffed from stall 8 for Andrew Balding, who did catch the eye at York's Ebor meeting, finishing 4th of 17 to Yes Man Marley in that 6 furlong nursery, when there's a big advantage to be drawn low because the winner came out of stall 1. One of the fancied horses, Artignan, was poorly drawn in stall 16, came out and ran okay, finishing 2nd next time out. Handcuff went to Salisbury, didn't run particularly well, but sort of stuck left on leaving the stalls. That was on good to soft ground. I thought it was too slow for her. So I thought, being a daughter of Dark Angel, she'll appreciate the lightly quicker ground. I thought if you sort of put a line through that Salisbury run, just judge her on the York effort from poor draw, she could go well here at a price 20-1 Handcuff.
Yeah, 20-1, a big price then to go at as well. And another extra place race then with BetMGM with 4 places on offer. Honestly, all these each way plus races with BetMGM this weekend. There's a lot of them. Make sure to utilize that. Right, the 3:15 at Newbury. This is the Group 2 Mill Reef Stakes, again for the 2-year-olds, and again over 6 furlongs. So we're splitting the horses, but we're stepping up a grade into Group 2 company this time around, Andrew. So pretty much copy and paste for kind of assessments in some ways, but what did you like?
Yeah, interesting race. 9 of the last 10 winners of the Mill Reef finished 1st or 2nd last time out, and 7 of the 10 were drawn 1, 2 or 3, although that draw bias perhaps not significant given that we've only had between 6 and 9 runners in this race in the past 10 years. But what's interesting, I thought, those who ran in a Group 2 last time were just 1 from 22, loss of 1938 to a £1 stake. For potentially bad news for Gimcrack runners. Those who ran in Group 3, 4 wins from 13 runners, profit of £7.91. A symbol of strength, of course, caught the eye in the Gimcrack. Finishing 3rd when not best positioned behind Cool Hoof Look. It was a funny race, the Gimcrack. You look at it, 10 runners, first 3 drawn 8, 9 and 7. You could say, oh, there was a high draw bias, but of course this was the Ebor meeting. You wanted to be low, you wanted to be on the far side. Cool Hoof Look, the winner, did actually end up more towards the far side, whereas the runner-up Shadow of Light and the 3rd Symbol of Strength didn't. They were sort of more down the middle of the track. So Symbol of Strength went to Kempton next time, in Group 3 company in the Serenia Stakes, and won well as the 5-2 favourite, well back that day. And I thought, he and Shadow of Light could be the ones to concentrate on here. So given they finished second and third in the Gym Crack from poor draws, I'm just going to do the reverse forecast that pair with marginal preference for Symbol of Strength, because of the fact that he's the biggest price, possibly underrated in the market, being traded by Adrian Keatley as opposed to Charlie Appleby.
Yeah, that definitely factors in, doesn't it? 6-1 about Symbol of Strength, Shadow of Light 11-4. So on that Gym Crack form line, Dave.
Yeah, I'm on the same form line, but it's simply Symbol of Strength for me because, it's not Symbol of Strength. I said that wrong. It's simply Shadow of Light. It's not simply, I've not made it clear. Shadow of Light. So Shadow of Light was runner-up that day. As Andrew touched on, Cool Hoof Luke managed to get across to the far side. We know how much of a bias it is there. But interestingly, in that race, Shadow of Light with Will Buick the horse was like a little bit lit up early on. He was trying to get a toe in from something, and he decided to follow the striking Viking, who was sent off second favourite 7-2, who ended up finishing 10th of 11th. So as much as that horse took him into the race to a small extent, he followed a horse that couldn't take him the whole way. He then rode the horse in the finish, obviously potentially being on the wrong side, but he rode him and you could see that he thought he was going to get there, or at least hoped he would. And it was just the bias that stopped him picking up Cool Hoof Luke. He picked up Symbol of Strength on the line, had him well accounted for as far as I'm concerned. And then not that he stopped riding through the line, because jockeys don't do that, but he stopped riding through the line. So Symbol of Strength looks to come back a little bit, but I don't think he did. So I think Shadow of Light sort of left a little bit behind that day and was just unlucky with where he was positioned on the course and not necessarily getting a toe into it. I think the form of that looks pretty good. And as much as Powerful Glory was like a little bit impressive on debut, he's beaten the horses that he's beaten as nice as he likes. Oisin seemed to try to get the horse to jump out the stalls quickly. He had to take it up before they turned in like a few furlongs from home, but actually the horse fell out the stalls. Now I know it was his first run and he's going to potentially improve from that, but what he's done on that debut compared to what Shadow of Light's done over a number of races, it is like mind-boggling that they're currently joint favourites, or in some places Powerful Glory was favourite. So by the time this goes out, or by the time you watch it on the weekend, I expect that Shadow of Light will be a pretty strong favourite for this. He's 11-4 at the time of recording, so I'd want to be backing him at 2-1+. I think he does win this one. But the mentioning of Symbol of Strength and of Cool Hoof Luke means that we've got to bring in Brian to the equation, because he looks a bit overpriced at, I think he was 14-1, his top price 10-1 now. He was only 3/4 of a length behind Symbol of Strength in that Kempton race. And then when he was behind Cool Hoof Luke, he was only a neck behind. Okay, both of those runs were on the all-weather, but he has won over course and distance here on good to soft. So the way the current ground is with a little bit of rain about, he ticks more boxes than most do in here. So I'll be back in Shadow of Light, but I'll be having a saver on good old Brian as well.
Good old Brian as well, who's a nice price of 8-1 to boot, back over that same course and distance. He's really been halved in price then as well since the time of Dex, but Shadow of Light, not to be confused with Symbol of Strength. All the X's and all the odds going on there. Now we sign off this section of the show with the big one itself, the 335, the Ayr Gold Cup Heritage Handicap, 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs. Again, 6 places on offer with BetMGM with an each way plus race. So Dave, you get first stab.
Yeah, thanks for that. It is a nice race though, to be fair, and we're probably best just to quickly start off with American Affair. I won't take too long on this one, but he was a good winner last week, wasn't he? Obviously, Adele Mulrennan let us know on TV quite constantly that Paul Mulrennan hadn't eaten for a short while, was desperate to get the weight. He was well backed and he won like he was a good thing, didn't he? But he is drawn in stall 4. We've got to go back to, I think it's 2005, Presto Shinko for a horse that's won lower than stall 6, that one from stall 2. So I do think there is a big enough bias in it. Since 2007, so there's been 18 renewals. We'll ignore the 2017 race because it was rerouted to Haydock. So in those 17 renewals, we've had 14 winners from stall 12 or higher. The other 3 came from stall 8. So I do think you want to be drawn a bit higher up there. So I'm basically taking on Jim Goldie's runner, but I'm taking on Jim Goldie's runner with Jim Goldie's other runner. Jordan Electrics is definitely getting a mention. Ticks all the boxes on the trends that I've done in the cheat sheet in there. Got a draw in stall 17. Obviously ran really well last time out, so comes in here in decent form, so I'm happy with that. The other one that ticks all the boxes, and I wanted to make a bit of a case for anyway, was Comanche Falls that I put up in the Beverly Bullet, probably stupidly, but napped him in there. He ran an okay race. That was only his second time running at 5 furlongs in his 40+ race career. But actually, I think looking at it in hindsight now, that was probably a stepping stone with this race in mind, I think. he was second in this race behind Summerghand, wasn't he, a couple of years ago? That was off of a mark of 109. He's off of 107 now. So I know he's a 7-year-old, but I think he's in reasonable form. There's a few other bits and pieces of form that he's got on this particular track as well, and what he's done in some other races. In that Carnarvon we talked about earlier, where Relief Rally was in there and elite status, he still managed to finish 6th in there. I think he just looks like he's got a bit of a chance. He's 33-1, which I was a bit staggered about. I didn't think he'd be that sort of price, so I will play the pair. And as I touched on earlier, I'll do the Silver Cup and the Gold Cup in like some each-way doubles. So fingers crossed we can get rich fast.
Very fast then, hopefully. Jordan Electrics, who again is a nice price by his own right, about 10-1. Then 10-1, and then big price for Comanche Falls, a dear old warrior, about 33-1 then for Michael Dodsford. Dave, Andrew, who'd you like?
Yeah, really tricky with the draw. I mean, it used to be a case back in the day when the Silver Cup first came around that you took the draw of the Silver Cup winner and just sort of added 3 or took away 3 and sort of bet those sort of 6 horses in the Ayr Gold Cup. It worked last year when the 2 winners were drawn 11 and 14, but it hasn't worked for several years before that. So, yeah, really difficult to be adamant about the draw. Looking at the race we just had at Ayr, a 5 furlong sprint, it seemed that being more towards the far side was certainly helpful. I say the Bronze Cup will give us clues on Friday, but yeah, very tricky. Yeah, Jordan Electric's been an absolutely fantastic form this season. Ran another cracker at York last time, finishing second to JM Jungle when I put the pair up. Although, I mean, JM Jungle came out and ran really well in the Portland, but a lot of other horses who were drawn low in that race because they were flat and have sort of disappointed since. So couldn't rule him out, but at 10-1, I don't think I'd want to back him. Rohan sort of continues to frustrate, and we might not see the best of him until he goes to Ascot next month. Ramazan won the race on the wrong side in the Great St. Wilfred, of course. He should go well. He's still 14, not a disadvantage. American Affair, absolute superstar since they reverted to sprint trips. I think that was last July. Never been up 3. I thought he's going to run another blinder again, assuming he gets pace on his side. Billy Joe, we should mention. We talked about the Stewards Cup and how it was a disadvantage to be drawn middle to low. He did best of those who were poorly drawn in that race behind Get It in the first time cheap pieces. He then went to York, finished 16th, but again he had another shocking draw. He was drawn in stall 15 that day behind in Elmond Jed's race. That winner coming out of stall 2. You know, you look at the first 5 were drawn 2, 8, 1, 4, and 5. And Summerghand 6th from stall 3. Dare to Hope also drawn low, 7th in that race. So I think Billy Joe, if stall 18 is no disadvantage, I think he's going to run an absolute blinder here. I know he doesn't win very often, but he's second and flipping a lot of times, and I think each way Billy Joe we're going to be disappointed, and if he's out the first sort of 4, 5, or 6 here.
12-1 as well for Billy Joe, with those 6 places on offer for the each way plus race with Bet MGM. But a good comprehensive rundown of loads of the runners there from Andrew. So Andrew, I will go back to you, please. Anything from anywhere else you wanted to flag up that we perhaps haven't covered?
No, with 9 races, it was very difficult to look properly at the ones we've discussed, which is my getting in excuses early for not tipping any winners.
Fair enough, exactly. Putting in the excuses early, but yeah, 9 races and some of the biggest fields that we're going to get of the entire season that the lads have had to look at as well. So fair dues. Dave, did you get a chance to look at anything else?
No, I've given you 8 winners from the 9 races on Saturday. That's enough, isn't it?
What was the one that we haven't? Is that the one that you said you were just going to sit out for now?
Yeah, I'm fuming because of the fact that Cool's not running, is it?
Yeah, that's the one then. Okay, thanks. Then Dave, your nap of those 8 winners, which one do you want to have as your nap?
I mean, multiple winners I'm going to get. Like for short term, so the viewers know, because obviously it is sometimes tricky to do this on the spot, but More Lamb and Shadow of Light would be the 2 that would be on the forefront of my mind. I would probably still go with Shadow of Light at 11-4 as the nap. So it's probably going to shorten up. If it does, then More Lamb will switch. Both of those will win, but Shadow of Light for the purpose of this is my nap. For the purpose of this,
really thought we had you with Summerghand then, and then if not that, More Lamb. But no, we're not going with either of those for Dave's nap. Andrew, your nap.
I'm going to go Youthful Ping in the 205 at Newbury to get the better of Lieber Power and Waxing Gibbons.
the images that you just popped into everyone's mind when you said about that, though. Maybe it's something that could take off, who knows. But there you go, then. That's everything from us on a really busy show this week. So a big thank to Andrew and to Dave for all of their hard work. I know I say it every week, but genuinely a lot of hard work this week has gone into this. So big thank you to you at home for watching, to our sponsors, BetMGM. Make sure to utilize those extra place races as well with BetMGM. Enjoy all the action this weekend, and we'll speak to you again next week.